Saturday night at the museum live. How are you guys feeling tonight? You know, you get a chance to walk around the exhibit and check out some stuff. It was amazing, right? I hope everybody found their stories, because that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about stories and how it connects the present to the past and, you know, helps us look to the future. So for a lot of you guys don't know who I am. We're actually recording this. We're going to post this later, but I'm Guerrero. I'm going to be the host for tonight. I'm going to tell a few stories. We're going to talk to people. But before we get into all that, I want to bring up my co-host for the night, Alyssa Al-Dookhi. Bring up Al. Al! This is the hunting. Al, everybody. Al, everybody. Oh my gosh. Alyssa, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jay. How you doing? How y'all doing out there tonight? Okay. See, we're a little scared of the front row. It's okay, we'll change that.
It's fine. Like I said, Alyssa and I, we actually played one of the 3 games that you guys could play. I don't know if we each picked a different one. We each found a story. I'm going to tell my story. You're going to hear Alyssa's story a little later on in the show. So, that was a lot of fun. Also, what else can they expect for tonight, Alyssa?
Tonight we'll be talking with Michael Shepard, the Assistant Director of the Atwater Kent Collection with Drexel University's Lenfest Center for Cultural Partnerships to learn more about this exhibit. Then we'll be talking to the rest of our storytellers. That's Yahya Moore, Kupsey, Daralyse Lyons, all featured on the Philadelphia Revealed podcast.
Yeah, you guys, who has, round of applause, who has checked out the podcast before? Yeah, if you haven't, listen to the Philadelphia Revealed podcast. They took 10 storytellers, 10 artifacts from right here in the exhibit, and some amazing stories that really are worth checking out. Possible nominations for stuff. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, so we'll see. But yeah, that's what we have. We have a lot to unpack, so let's just get into it. Thank you. I didn't know how to finish it there, but that was potentially where I got to it. Oh my gosh! Let me get behind my desk, and I need my water with my official first-person art tumbler.
Ooh, la la. This mug changed me. I'm a new person now that I have one of these.
Anybody comes up to me like, how's your day? How do you think? Doesn't even mean anything. Just what do you think? Oh my gosh, we got a lot more show, Alyssa, so let's keep it moving. What do you think?
It's spectacular, and I just want to highlight, first of all, we talked to some of you folks during the exhibit, which was spectacular. And like Chase said, we wrote these stories as we were walking around the exhibit too. And it's incredible to me how an artifact from someone else can trigger such a vivid memory. And you folks understood what Shay was talking about. Even though you're not an undocumented comedian hosting a storytelling show tonight, you still understand all of these things. And so I think that's fabulous. So that's what I just wanted to say about this exhibition that I absolutely love.
Thank you. I really had a great time walking and talking to all these great people. But let's bring out let's bring out our first guest. Alyssa, please tell us who our first guest is for tonight.
Our first guest tonight is Michael Shepard, who's the Assistant Director of the Atwater Kent Collection at Drexel University, where he works on collections management and digitization. I had one alcohol last night. Of the former collection of Philadelphia History Museum. Please give it up for Michael Shepard.
Michael!
Welcome to the stage. Keep those claps going. We love it.
Michael, we wanted to award you with your own personal cup so you can feel just as bad as we do. Oh my gosh, Michael, thank you. Yeah, put it right there. Oh my gosh, how are you feeling today?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
How's it been seeing so many people during the time since the exhibit opened?
It's been great. Over.
Yeah, sorry about this. Yeah, it's my first day as host.
Yeah. It's been great. I being able to work upstairs and come down and see the people go through and really enjoy themselves. I love it. It's one of the best parts of my job.
Thank you. And for people people at home, I know people here know this, but what is the Atwater Kent exhibit if you had to describe it to people?
So the Atwater Kent Collection, very simply put, it's Philadelphia's history.
Yeah.
The much longer explanation is that it's 130,000 objects that have been collected over the last 85 years or so that span, 400 years of history, basically, all revolving around Philadelphia, covering any topic you can think of, any type of material you can think of. We probably have something.
Yeah, because that's what the great thing is. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's been called the exhibit of exhibits, the where just a bunch of different exhibits have come together? How's it all come together in the 85 years since its inception?
I mean, it's like any museum. A lot of it comes from donations. We are unique in that a good bit of our history is about us being called the collection of collections.
The collection of collections, yes.
Yeah. Where we've kind of absorbed other museum collections throughout the city's history. If a museum has closed down, we became the repository that they sent their things to carry them on for future generations.
I was the same way like that with Pokemon cards. I was the collection of collections. When my friends became too old and were cool, I was like, that's my collection now.
and now
so many Charizards.
Yeah, now you're reaping the benefits.
Exactly. Yeah. That's beautiful. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna bring this all in, and like out of all the exhibits, because you brought in so many from different. Like, what's one that you personally love?
Like object in the collection?
Yeah, object in the collection.
In the exhibit or the collection? That's a real tough question.
That's a real curator kind of. It's too difficult. but how would you break it up? Like, how would you say like my favorite in the collection is this piece right now? But if I had the overall, like, yeah.
In the exhibit right now, I think my favorite object is the photo album that was found in the trash.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's made out of paper shopping bags. It's got so many photos representing, the soldier's time in the war, his regiment that he's with, some memories from when he was back home. But it was just so lovingly created, it seems like. It was made with these paper bags. It was resourceful. They used photo corners to decorate the front cover to make it look like a flower design. And it's just such a great representation of that time period. And we can look back at these images, and there's so many in there for us to go through.
Now, is that definitely your favorite one from the collection?
No. So I mean, it's up there, but in my history background, I was very much a social historian. So I really like the everyday object. And that photo album definitely fits into that. But one of my favorite things I ever came across in the collection is a deck of playing cards from the 19th century. It was playing cards, same format we play with now, a 52 card deck, and on the Joker card in there is a tally sheet of a mom and uncle and the son keeping track of who won what game.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is, 150 years old, and they're doing the same thing that I do with my family now.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I love seeing things like that.
Yeah. If it's one game of Monopoly, it'd be 150 years as well. Still playing the card game. I love that. Right here it says that you, before the collection, the museum has been called the Museum Without Walls. What does that mean exactly?
So I think the Museum Without Walls is a great idea that we have for what we can do with the future of the Atwater Kent Collection. And I think it stems from the fact that we don't have a dedicated gallery anymore to plan these exhibitions, and we're going to get these things out there into the community. We can put things in rec centers, in schools, in libraries, places like that. And I think there's two very important parts that will make this important and very successful in Philadelphia. The important part of it is that I think I love museums, I love exhibitions, but they can be imposing, they can be intimidating and unwelcoming to some people, and it's not the ultimate end goal of what a collection can be that some people think that it is. And this can open up those gates, to open up those doors to a much wider community, and get it out there so it's more accessible. And I think that's the most important part about having these historic collections is, expanding access. What's the point of saving all of these things if people can't access them and use them for whatever they need. And then I think what will make that so successful is, growing up here, we love our Philadelphia history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we really love it. But not just our Philadelphia history, you know, we love our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we are, you know, you talk bad about Philadelphia, we will all ride or die for Philadelphia.
Oh my gosh.
But when it gets down to it, you know, we all love our neighborhood.
Yeah.
We think our neighborhood's the best neighborhood.
As a stand-up comedian, my favorite thing is to watch a New Yorker comedian come down to Philly and be like, "What's up with your town?" Every Philly's like, "What's up with our town?"
Yeah,
It's like, "Oh, that comedian's gonna bomb."
exactly.
They love their city.
So, but when you get down to it, we really love our local history. We want to talk about why that really big house in the neighborhood is so big because it used to be a firehouse. We want to know those things, and we want to talk about that. So when we can get those things and get it down to the community level,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really successful.
Yeah, and that's you're right. It's as someone who didn't grow up with like arts around them. I really grew up, you know, in rougher neighborhoods. Like I understand how much when my school was like, "We're gonna take you to the Natural History Museum." I'm like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be looking at, you know. History is in my books.
Yeah.
You know, so it really is nice to try and like bring this to schools and charity, and you know, and like social gatherings stuff like that for younger people to be able to access. And what do you hope is like the future? Last thing I want to ask you, like, what do you hope is the future for the exhibit?
For the collection or
For the collection,
Oh,
yeah, for the collection.
I mean, to just keep growing. We've, you know, there's been some transition that has stopped us from collecting and things like that, and there wasn't a lot of collecting going on over the last a few years, and people ask me this all the time, and I get that elder millennial existential dread where I originally am like, well, you know, we really need things from the last 30 years, and what I'm talking about is starting in the 80s, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was almost 50 years ago.
I got a bunch of Pokemon cards for the collection.
Why do you have to say it like that, Michael?
The old Ninja Turtle VHSs are still good.
Yeah. But yeah, so you know, I want to start bringing those things in. I want to get you know, those things from the last 50 years. There's a lot of holes that we have. You know, music is such a big part of Philadelphia's history. We have very little to do with Philadelphia music, especially contemporary music.
Mm-hmm. Good
I
point.
mean, yeah, I grew up on Boyz II Men and the Roots. We had nothing. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
We do need more contemporary stuff in there.
Yeah. You know, Sun Ra Orchestra, and amazing, and then we have nothing.
That's the beauty of it. It's still it can still grow.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of these collections, is that they will just continue to grow, and you know, we deal with the space aspect of it, and you can't save everything, but you can't just ignore the history that's happening. And we weren't here to collect for the pandemic or you know, the height of the Black Lives Movement, and those things are very important. So we still need those things, but you want to be able to do that active collecting as you go, because it's a lot easier to save things as it's happening than to go back 20 years later and hope someone still has it.
Right.
I'm really excited. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to come visit this exhibit again, like in 20, 30 years, like when you guys have the newer things, like, wow, look at this stuff. Michael, thank you so much for your time and your expertise on this. Thank you so much. Give it one more time to Michael. He's not gonna leave, he's gonna walk down a little bit. Oh my God, amazing. We're gonna bring out, keep this moving, bring out our next guest. Alyssa, let us know who our next guest is.
Our next guest is Yahya Moore. He served 27 years in prison for a crime he did not commit and overturned his own wrongful conviction in July 2023. Since then, he has committed himself to restorative justice programs that are run within correctional institutions. Please put your hands together for Yahya Moore.
And also, like everyone else, I'm awarding you with your own "My Life is Art," which I feel like that phrase doesn't fit anybody else better than you. My life is art mug. How are you feeling today?
I feel wonderful.
Oh man, it was an exciting. Yahya is actually one of the podcasters who was on the Philadelphia Revealed podcast, which you can listen to now. So tell us a little bit how you got involved with the project. How did it came about?
Okay, so initially, PAFA, had a First Person Arts had a competition, a story slam, and I decided to get up there and go. So I got up there and I won.
I was there that night. He just went, I can do this. And just like got on stage.
I won. I was nervous, but I won, and that led into a great relationship with First Person Arts, and they invited me, Neil. They invited me to look at some artifacts and see if I would like to kind of like entwine my life with something that I've seen and do a little storytelling with it. And so when we went to look at the artifacts, I came across the handcuffs that was worn by John Brown, the abolitionist. And it struck a chord with me because as being wrongfully convicted, the Abolitionist Law Center was the organization that helped me get free. And so I'm looking at these handcuffs now, and at the time I think I was only home for 5 months.
Right. Because the night after he came to the show, you had only been out maybe 2 months at that point?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was amazing. He came out after 27 years and still being like, I want to try something new and get out there and figure it out.
Right. And so initially, I didn't think that I would see anything amongst the artifacts that would actually kind of like interest me. But I seen these cuffs, and it just felt right. You know, it felt right to pick these cuffs and talk about my life and how my life can entwine with them, particularly studying the law and coming across the 13th Amendment. You know, I don't know if anybody here knows about the 13th Amendment, but it is it says that slavery is abolished except for anyone who has been duly convicted of a crime. And so I seen these cuffs, and I'm thinking about the 13th Amendment. I'm thinking about the Abolitionist Law Center. I'm thinking about my life, and you know, so I said, "Wow, I have to do this. I have to do this."
Did you know much about John Brown before you saw the cuffs?
Well, I've read some things about John Brown. I did. I read some things about him, and I had to learn a little bit more about his life and what he actually was doing to help try to end slavery. And so he was a great guy. He was strong enough to say something about something that was wrong. You know, he felt it in his heart, and you know, he felt it in his body, and he spoke out against it.
But I mean, it's the same, you know, with you. I mean, he was told to, you know, shut up, or, you know, we're gonna incarcerate you, crazy for this, and you were incarcerated for 27 years. Like, nobody believed me. You're the only one that like believed the truth. Like, how did for 27 years like you say strong to your truth? I mean, you knew what the truth was, that you didn't commit the crime. But how do you, with this giant system against you, like, how do you stay strong in a way like that?
Wow, it's hard. It's very difficult. But it's like when they say you have no choice. There's a term that's often used on the inside, and it says either you swim or you drown. And so I decided to swim. I decided to swim.
I got a quote here that I wanted to read to you. The Encyclopedia Britannica notes that, long a foe of slavery, Brown became obsessed with the idea of taking overt action to help win justice for enslaved Black people. How would you say John Brown's vision manifests in you?
Oh, wow. So his vision, firstly, learning the law, learning about the 13th Amendment, and feeling this sense of, like, it was like a back and forth, whether or not, am I a slave? Am I still a slave? You know, am I really still a slave here? And so that feeling was like, okay, maybe not the traditional, the old way, but in some regards, in some regards, and so, but I have a choice. I had a choice whether to learn the law and to help other people. Right, and so that's what I did. I learned the law. I became a legal reference aide.
Because you've also helped other people.
Yes, and I helped.
You've helped other people come out of prison as well.
Yes, I worked in the law library for about 22 years, and I helped countless other people gain their freedom. And and so I get out. I'm out here now doing the same. Currently working as a paralegal in the Pennsylvania Innocence Project.
Thank you so much. Before we let you go, where can we see you next, and what do you have coming up? Yeah, tell us about your organization, everything you have coming up.
Okay, my partner and I, Patricia Way, she's sitting right out there. We started a nonprofit organization called Way More Justice Support. Right now, we only have 2 clients. That's the only type of capacity we could cover right now. And we're just looking to kind of like scale in that in the coming year or 2. We're looking for funding and stuff, things like that, And so we'll be around. You guys will see us around.
Yeah, be around a lot more. Thank you so much, Yahya. Give it up for Yahya.
Yahya Moore, everyone.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
What an incredible tale. So Philadelphia. And there's a phrase that I also work in activism. There's a phrase we use called "Don't pull up the ladder behind you," and that's exactly what you've done. And I love hearing that. Yeah, you climb up that ladder, you bring it up with you.
Amazing. Alyssa, please tell us who's our next storyteller? Who's our next Philadelphia Revealed storyteller?
So excited. Yes, and once again, a reminder that you can check out all of these stories on the Philadelphia Revealed podcast. Go ahead and make sure you listen. I know you want to listen to Yahya's story because I'm going to go back and listen to it again after that. So our next storyteller, very excited to bring him up. Nick Kupsey is an author and storyteller based in Philadelphia. He's the author of The 5 People You Meet in Wawa and... Yeah, it's a classic, instant classic. And he also wrote Lost in the Mail. Both are available in bookstores and on Amazon. Give it up for Nick Kupsey. Nick Kupsey!
Oh my gosh, Nick! Give it up for Nick one more time!
Give it up for Nick.
Nick, come on. Oh, well, yes. Also, you get a gift. Well,
thank you.
Your life is also art.
I can't wait to go to Target. Oh my god.
I feel like you need a hard hat, right? Just boots. Oh my gosh. How are you doing today, man?
I'm wonderful, sir. Well, first and foremost,
yes,
it's so good to see you and Alyssa. The history between us, all wonderful. I'm so thrilled to see
It's definitely illegal, but
definitely.
Does this have like a late night talk show vibe? It's like hey, we're all friends and you guys are cool too. Nick's also, like I said, a storyteller on the Philadelphia Review podcast. Tell us how you got involved with the project.
They sent me an email.
Perfect. Great. Next question.
Neil was like, do you want to do this? And I was like, of course I do, sir. And then I know...
To be fair, I asked you.
What's
That's
that?
right, I asked you. That's right. I was like, Nick, I asked you to do this show.
You asked me to do this show. Neil asked me to do the other one.
Yeah, right.
But that's how I ended up here, and I'm thrilled beyond measure. This was probably one of the coolest things I've ever done in my career, if I'm being honest. Like, kidding aside. I didn't know anything about the Atwater Kent exhibit, anything at all until this.
Yeah.
So I was kind of mesmerized almost when I first came to see all the pieces. And to learn the history of how his collection, I think he earned his money by doing something, with the ignition? Car ignition or something? Atwater Kent?
There's another remote, there's another phone right there.
Radio, okay, sorry.
Radio, yeah.
Alright, forgive me.
So the radios was how you started and the collection went through that. Your artifact was the turnstile from the Vet Stadium, and it says here, what do you miss about the sound, and what's your favorite Philly sound, if you had to say?
Oh, it has to be my favorite Philly sound, because I distinctly recall, now, one of the reasons I picked this is because my father, his first job out of college, my father grew up in Bridesburg, if you guys know where that is, Northeast Philly. One of his first jobs out of college was working at the vet.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go pretty frequently as a child. And I distinctly remember going through turnstiles there. So when I saw that, there was like, you know, an instant connection, and not just from my father, but from an auditory as well, because it makes a very distinct sound when every single person in here has been through a turnstile, so you understand that didn't. And when you have thousands of people going through that at a time, that kind of creates its own little rhythm.
Yeah.
And that really is kind of what drew me to it, if we're being 100% honest.
You know what's funny? You talk about the sound of a turnstile, like remind you sort of a Philly.
Yeah.
Very silly, but like yesterday, me and my partner, we ordered some food, and I heard the car outside, and I thought to myself, like, oh, their car is really messed up. It's making like a and then my girlfriend goes, no, that's a moped. You see, in Dominican Republic, they ride mopeds so much that as soon as I heard that sound, I thought of DR. To me, that was a moped. I was like, man, I grew up in such bad neighborhoods. That sounded like a messed up car. But to her, she was like, no, that sounded like DR. That sounded like my uncle putting me in the center part of the moped. And so it's like, it's crazy to say the Philly sound came to you right away from that.
Immediately, and I think that, and also if you didn't get the chance to go to the vet was a very, basically utilitarian building. You know, it almost had a communist feel to it, which is insane because it was built in the United States during the Cold War, but it felt, everybody got potatoes. It felt very Soviet Union. And so I remember that sound, but also you kind of walked into the vat itself, and that place was like, has anyone been to the vat in here? Yeah. Okay, this is fantastic.
I love
this is really going to appeal to you. It felt like a medieval castle. And I don't necessarily mean in the best way either. So, you know, it was dank, and there was just puddles of water of indeterminate origin, a very strange smell of, again, bodily indeterminate origin. So it had its weird charm, but that noise immediately, when I saw that and I thought of that noise, it brought back every single memory.
Yeah.
So it was just, I guess you could say there was an emotional connection, as much as you can have with a turnstile. My girlfriend's like, are you going to leave me for it? Yes.
You know, it's something like, I like watching like old documentaries about like, you know, 70s, 80s sports or whatever. And I love like when other sports team would be like, man, when you would go to the vet, we were afraid to be there because like or same thing like in Boston, just like cities have that their staple stadium that other teams are afraid to come to. And I felt like the vet was that.
There was a jail in there. I mean, and I'm not a fan of the Philadelphia stereotype of our fan. I hate it. I really don't. I don't like it. Like, I think it's something we shouldn't be proud of, that we behave poorly towards other people. Like, I'm baffled by it. But there was a section at I think it was the 700 level, where people behaved like hooligans.
Yeah.
And there was a threat. There was a threat even if you were from Philly. And I don't know how any of this was appealing to people, because I remember a friend offered me, he had season tickets in the 700 level. His name was Bill. And we were probably 19, 20. He's like, do you want to go? And I was like, no. Like, I do not want to get beat up. Like, I'm not that dude. I'm not looking to start trouble. I want to get a hot dog, a soda, if I'm lucky, some ice cream and a helmet. Like, I'm not asking for much.
Oh my gosh. Any memories you have specifically like with your dad going there? Like any game?
I do, because, and this is another thing, is that I remember the first time I went, we walked, I was too small, I was 6, and my father had an insane pride about working on this stadium, so he had an emotional connection to it. And I remember the first game I went that I was aware of, and I was too small to go under the turnstile, so he had to pick me up and put me over it. And I remember, and when you went up the levels, it was, you know, kind of like a maze. Now, I mean, as a child, it felt way more Byzantine than it really is, but these ramps, and you got up, and I remember the first thing that I saw was that green AstroTurf, because it was a green, an unholy green, as we found out later. But it was just resplendent. It was a different type of green that I had never seen, and I will never forget that. I don't know why. I've always loved the color green, but as evidenced by this shirt, which my girlfriend didn't like, by the way, but bought for me. I just remember very distinctly that green of the AstroTurf, and then that green juxtaposed against the green wall with the yellow lettering. And I know I had ice cream that day and a helmet, because it's still, even 46, it's my favorite thing. But I remember being more visually captivated by the stadium itself than the actual game.
Oh.
So, and the last time that I was in the vet, you can make fun of me all you like, it was 2001, I was in college. I was at a Dave Matthews Band concert. Ants marching. And that was the last time I went, and I remember leaving and going, I never want to come here again.
Alyssa, you have some history with the vet. That was like your first concert, was
I
it?
saw my very first concert at Veterans Stadium. We were visiting from Kuwait, where I'm from. We'll get back to that later. Don't worry about it. We were visiting from Kuwait. I was 15 years old. I had blue hair and braces, and we went to see Summer Sanitarium, Metallica headlining, Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, Deftones, and Mudvayne. And there was a man next to me, probably my age, now, and he goes, "Your braces are real cute." Which was a red flag for me.
It's just an orthodox.
But the concert was great.
Oh my God. That's the best. Nick, what do you, sorry to get you on that. When we're ending baseball season, we're going to football, like how do you feel like the stadiums and I guess, the changing of the season like feel for Philly and represent for Philly?
I think the current stadiums that we have lack any type of soul.
Yeah.
And that's not disrespectful to either Citizens Bank Park or the Link. But the vet had a certain, as much as it had its faults, still had a soul to it that other stadiums don't have.
Yeah.
And as we transition from baseball to football, go Birds, but like I feel that the stadium experience now has been a little bit more, I'm sure some of it's for the better. Please don't get mad at what I'm saying. But it has been anesthetized to the point where they're, as much as a lot of things are these days, is that it doesn't have any character. Mm-hmm. It lacks any type of soul. And to me that's sad. I don't want people to like hurt each other at stadiums, but a couple blemishes on the building wouldn't bother me either.
I get that.
Going into them it just feels empty and kind of I don't feel any connection per se.
To your point, Nick, I probably signed an NDA about this, so just don't tell anybody. But that Adam Sandler film Hustle, they filmed the airport scenes in Wells Fargo, and I was an extra. But because it looks like an airport, which is not a good sell.
Oh, that's true.
To your point about the soul,
I didn't know that.
because we filmed the airport scenes.
We have Adam Sandler here next week. We'll ask him.
Prior to Wells Fargo was the Spectrum, which had a little bit of soul to it as well. So when we tear these buildings down, we replace them with things that can be replaced themselves. Yeah. We don't build things to be permanent anymore. Yeah, sure. And we don't emotionally invest in them. So when you see something as simple as a turnstile, it has a rich history, way more than anything else that you would find in the Link, Wells Fargo, or Citizens, in my opinion, in Citizens Bank Park. So that's how I kind of emotionally connected to that piece.
Yeah, thank you, Nick, and thank you for sharing your story. One more time for Nick. Anything you want to plug or anything?
No, just happy to be here. Thank you guys all for coming.
All right, one more time for Nick. Hey! Oh my God. Amazing. We're up to our final guest already, Alyssa. Last but not least, who's our final storyteller for tonight?
So excited to bring up our final storyteller. She's a multi-hyphenate, author, actress, yogi, transformational coach, and speaker who endeavors to bring love to her stories and help people find happiness. Please put your hands together for Daralyse Lyons. Welcome, Daralyse.
We do not have a cup for you. Nah, everybody gets a cup. We wouldn't do that. Here you go, Daralyse. How are you feeling?
Good. It's a little daunting to be the last one, but I'm happy to be here.
Oh, it's fun. It's been great. We're going to all chat it out, telling the stories. Everybody's been telling us how they got involved with this project. Why don't you tell us how you got involved with this project?
Sure. I got involved with this project through Dr. Neil Bardhan, who is sitting in the second row.
Stand up, Neil. Thank you so much for being amazing storytellers.
Take a bow.
Yes. Teaches, does everything to help us get our story together, Neil.
Yes, and so Neil reached out to me and said there is a project about art and artifacts, and do you want to come and tell a story about an object? And I thought that sounds random, but sure. And so I came to upstairs and we toured this beautiful building, and I found the Crazy Nora portrait.
It was a poster, right?
It's a portrait. It's a painting.
Oh, of her, exactly.
Of her,
Okay. Yeah, and tell us a little more, because like, what was great, like what inspired you to Crazy Nora was like your own journey to come to Philadelphia and find like your story stuff. So tell us, like, you know, you came to Philadelphia for healing. What about Philly made you like stay and find that?
Yeah, we can give spoilers, right?
Yes.
Listen
If
to
you haven't heard the episode.
Yeah, so I moved here because I went to the Renfrew Center, which is an eating disorder treatment center. It was my 18th institutionalization, and so I came here thinking that it was one of only a few long-term treatment centers in the nation at that time. And so I came here thinking that I would do this long-term treatment and maybe stay for a year and then go back to Connecticut, but I fell in love with the city, and so I've been here for 15 years now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I got that deserved.
Yeah.
And did you start storytelling here in Philly?
I actually have been storytelling my entire life. When I was 5 years old, I got in trouble in kindergarten and was sent to the principal's office. And instead of going to the principal's office, I went to the nurse's office and said I had a stomach ache, and I've been telling the stories ever since. So. Most of them are true now, but at that time I was over yarn.
I love that. I thought somebody said it. Okay. In the podcast episode, Jamie says Philadelphia history is still being told. What stories would you like to see added to the Philly story?
Oh, gosh. I think that Philly is such a gritty city, and I'm not talking about the character thing, but you know, we just have so much. People are so real here, and so I love those stories of people being real. I also love. I moved to Mount Airy specifically, and it was one of the few. It was one of the earliest integrated neighborhoods, which I think is like really wonderful. And a lot of the work that I've done has been in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I love stories of diversity and integration and people coming together with disparate backgrounds.
Yeah. I guess, is that why, like, I guess the Crazy Nora story, because this is somebody, like, I don't know how, we talked about this on the live and stuff like that, but how much other people got to tell their stories, like, in that times, you know, especially, you know, when they didn't have, like, a podcast or anything to do it. So, like, how did you feel, like, when you saw the Crazy Nora, how did it connect to you, and, like, how her story was told to other people?
Yeah, I think that her story would be very different. If she painted a self-portrait, I would imagine it'd be very different than a portrait painted of her. And I think that I really believe in own voices and amplifying the voices of people's lived experiences. And so I think that maybe in some small way, Nora serves as representation for people who have experienced, you know, any sort of mental health crisis or any sort of issue. And I think that, I don't know, maybe Nora couldn't tell her own story, but maybe those of us who have experienced similar things can act as a mouthpiece for her or others who have lived that.
Yeah, that's why, like, I love the story of Nora, but, like, I was, like, angry at, like, how many people in the newspaper were, like, and then other towns are trying to find their Crazy Nora, and I'm like, wow, you can't, like, you're not trying to, in every town, you're not trying to find this person's, like, actual story and talk to them, you just want to tell the story for them, which I thought was very evil. You know,
but you know, I thought about what a contributing member of society she was, and I don't know if that stood out to you, Michael, but just how much value she added, even as someone who was recognized as a person who had some mental fragilities or, you know, struggled with different issues. She was beloved by children, and she was a bill collector, so she was a boss, you know. So I really, so she was
not paid up Crazy Nora, you know.
So she was interesting. She's an interesting contributing member of society, and up until the day she died, I think Jamie spoke about it in the podcast. Like she was loved. She had relationships and people who maybe saw her in a way that was not Crazy Nora.
And that's what it is. We all have that, you know. Our stories are not, just what people read, you know. You have a lot more stuff coming up. I wanted to plug about the Embracing the Light event. We have it coming up on the 17th.
Yeah, sure. So I had the honor of collaborating with First Person Arts and Mural Arts earlier this year about a project for suicide awareness and prevention. And so that It was a performance that I helped to direct, and there's going to be a mural created, and so I think the unveiling of those sketches are being presented. It's
Check out more at firstpersonart.org
it's really cool.
/events, because there was a really great thing that we did last year, end of last year almost, right? Or beginning of this year? Beginning of this year. Oh my
April,
God.
yeah. The performance was
I'm sorry, I'm on TikTok all day, so to me it's been 2,000 years and it was like yesterday. April of this year,
right.
We did a storytelling show where people, talked about,
But it was a long project. I mean, there was a series of mindfulness workshops, so you probably were working on it for a year. Yeah.
So now they're gonna get together with the community on what the mural should be. So come out and contribute to that on the 17th. But as far as for you personally, before we let you go, where can people see you? Where can they check out your work?
Oh, goodness gracious. There's a lot. I would say if you listen to podcasts, which hopefully many of the people here do, feel free to check out the Demystifying Diversity podcast or the On Being Biracial podcast. And then I don't know, this isn't checking me out, but I would encourage people to go have your own object experience. So maybe look at your own objects, come up with some stories, talk about it to a friend, find someone who will listen, maybe record it, share.
Share stories.
Yeah.
I love that. Hey, one more time for Daralyse Lyons. Oh my gosh. Don't go anywhere, guys. Before we let everybody go, we're going to bring it to the audience. We have any audience questions? Anybody has any questions for Michael, Yahya, Nick, Daralyse, Alyssa, myself? I got this shirt at Forever 21.
Our lovely station is going to come around with a...
Hey, how you guys doing today?
What's going on with the mic?
We got a question here in the middle, Adrian.
Right here.
We got a question right over here.
Yes. Next question.
Where else have we got questions? Raise your hand real high. We've got a question back behind the pole over here, Adrian, on the other side. We're making Adrian work. Go ahead. Yes. All right, everybody clap it up for Adrian because it's
Adrian, let's get it back there. Adrian, you are gonna make those $12, I swear to you. I'm paying him cash out.
Don't tell him we bribed the stagehand to help us do our work. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
I had a question for Michael. You said there were over like 100,000 objects in the collection. How did you narrow down to the exhibit?
Okay, so there's over 130,000 objects in the collection, so it's actually even more than. That was a process that it took years. It started as the brainchild of Paige Talbot and Stacy Swigert, and they spent years working on the evaluation project of the collection, and by doing that, they saw all of the objects and they started to see how a story can be told. And they really wanted to start with that collection of collections story. So that was where it all started. And then it kind of shifted to tell the other stories in all the 9 sections that we have represented. But it's a long process. It's a hard process. And we got to this point today, through the hard work of Paige and Stacy and, the help of Melissa Clemmer and Elizabeth Laurent, who was brought on as our project manager, and then our staff upstairs, Piper, Pauline, Alyssa, Gina, we can't do this without them. It's all, everyone comes and sees these exhibitions and no one really thinks about all the hard, invisible work that goes into them. But it's a long process. So it's just years of going through and finding that story you want to tell and figuring out which objects are best to help tell that story. And sometimes it's just looking at the objects that help you shape how that story is going to come out, that narrative. It's sort of a non-answer, but it's the best I can give you.
I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Yeah, you had a question that will come to the lady up front. Yeah.
Are you allowed to tell us where the 130,000 objects live now?
Ooh.
Somebody's doing a heist.
Mystery.
Go!
The 130,000 objects are stored securely in the Hamilton building. We are located in this building with PAFA. So yes, we are here and they're secure and they are all taken care of on a daily basis.
Perfect. And we have one more up here for the.
That's okay, I can check.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Perfect.
I'm curious about who are for the 5 people you meet at Wawa? Detail.
I'm sorry, can you get that in the mic just for the recording?
It's a great time for you to buy the book then.
We're gonna get that question one more time.
Yeah, just write
$11.
for recording purposes.
Oh,
If you
I'm
say
sorry.
something. No, okay.
I'm curious about the 5 people you meet at Wawa and who they are.
Oh, wow. Definitely buy the book. But anyway, these were people, I wrote that book when I was a mailman for the United States Postal Service, obviously. Can't be a freelance mailman.
I just picked up people's mails, drop them off, and the mailman from home.
I wrote it actually about the people that I encountered at the Wawa at Vermont and Garrett Roads.
Oh.
And these were people, just an assortment of people that I'd come across day to day, because I would use it as a rest stop. And I would get my lunch and stuff, you know, and I would eat in the parking lot. A lot of affairs happen. You'd be surprised how many people pull into a Wawa, get in one car, and leave the other. Baffling.
This is neither an endorsement for Wawa or affairs.
This show is not sponsored by Wawa.
I don't endorse either. I have no opinion of either. But the parking lot's a lively place. So that, to answer your question, short and simple, it was the people that I had come across over my 15-year career. So it was an interesting period in my life.
Perfect. Hey, one more time, thank you guys so much for the questions.
One more time for all of our storytellers.
Yeah, that's it. We're not done yet. Before we go out, we got one more thing. You're fine. Give me a back, Adrian, one time. We're done with these. Thank you. Love the kid. But before we do that, we have one more story for tonight. Let's close it out with Alyssa telling their story that they found upstairs. Come on, one more time for Alyssa.
I had so much fun doing this. Who picked up the recipe of me when you were going through your stories? Yes. I mean, it's just so delicious looking, isn't it? And I love this because I do feel like there are so many ingredients that come together to make me who I am. And one of the items that really highlighted that for me was a pennant that said "Votes for Women," and it had this gorgeous, strong-looking woman holding up a laurel leaf, and it's gold and blue, and that really spoke to me, and it brought me back to middle school. Not what you were expecting, right? But it brought me back to middle school. I just started 6th grade at a brand new school. We had just moved back to Kuwait, brand new school, an all-girls school. It was the year 2000. I was 11 years old, and I started at this new place, and we just moved back. We lived in America for 2 years when my dad got his master's, and so I was like, weird, right? Like, I was a horse girl who like came to a new school in a new country, and I'd like forgotten how to speak the language, and it was just, you know, I wasn't doing great, you guys, okay? And so I was really struggling in this new school, and I was really nervous about going to an all-girls school. It just, you know, it's not something that people do these days, right? So of course I found my little band of weirdos, but it was very hard not to get bullied. My mother's white and my dad is black and Arab, and so my mom never knew how to do my hair. Only took me like 26 years to figure it out, but today we're looking really good. So, you know, my hair was weird. It was in between. It was the year 2000, so like heroin chic was in, but I really like rice, you guys. So I didn't know what to do about that. It was just strange. But the thing that this really reminded me of was one day in 6th grade, I'm walking down the steps, and I'll never forget it. It was big cement buildings. Everything in Kuwait is a big cement building, so it stays nice and cool, and we have lots of air conditioning. And we're walking down the marble steps, because we're Arabs, we gotta have marble in there, it's gotta look nice, you know what I'm saying? I got my gold on. So we're walking down the marble steps, and don't forget it's the year 2000, but of course it's Kuwait, so like somebody had a cell phone already, you know what I mean? And somebody had just found out that women could now vote in Kuwait. And so I remember the moment, standing in a school full of girls, learning that we had some power, and making plans for when we were going to join Parliament, and that we could do that now. And so despite the fact that I didn't fit in with all of these girls at this school, and that I'd been weird, we all had this moment where we were like, we can do something together now, and we can take this power and use it to vote. And this was 80 years after the United States, not in 80 years, 180 years, but we only did it in 62 years. Took you guys an awful lot longer. So I think our record is doing a little bit better. One of the prompts that I loved in this book was pour in a spoonful of sharing. Who would you share this memory with if you could? And it got me thinking about my ancestors and women's power. And one woman in my family who created the recipe of me and contributed using her feminine power was my great-grandmother, who was a wet nurse to the sheikha of the royal family, a princess. And in Kuwaiti culture, if a child nurses from you, that is your child. You are their mother. So years later, my great-grandmother takes my dad and one of my uncles and goes to the princess and says, my 2 grandsons are outside and they really want to go to college in America, but I don't have any money. My grandfather was a pearl diver, we didn't have nothing. And this princess paid for my father to come to the US to attend university where he met my mother. And the recipe of me was created. And then I became a historian and a feminist activist, and all of it kind of comes from this moment of realizing that I had the right to vote and I had power. Thank you.
One more time for Alyssa, all of our guests, Michael, Nick, Daralyse, Yahya. Thank you again to all of our partners.
Give it up for yourselves for being here. Thank you.
That was our show tonight. Thank you to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, Drexel University, and us here at First Person Arts. I'm just going to read the last end of this, sorry. The programming has been sponsored by the Pew Center for Arts and Heritage. To everyone who came out tonight, thank you. We hope you find your story in the exhibit. Also, don't forget, the museum is celebrating free museum days this fall for you to see not only Philadelphia Revealed, Unpacking the Attic with the layers of Liberty, Philadelphia, and the Appalachian environment, which explores Philadelphia's relationship to the Appalachian region. Free museum days are Thursday, September 26th, Friday, September 27th, Sunday, October 6th, and finally, Sunday, November 24th. To learn more about first-person art storytelling events, check out our website, firstpersonarts.org, or go to our social media at First Person Arts. I run those. Or, everybody says that. Dang it, I messed up. That was everything. I didn't even put it in. They never do. You guys were amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody.